Hi Gemini, this is Rebecca from Being Human Tarot, and I'm here with your July 2018 reading, which is going to consist of 5 cards. Where you are right now, your tasks for the month, your difficulties for the month, your strengths for the month, and your ultimate goal for the month. So, I'm going to get right into it because it's getting a little bit later now. What time is it? It's 8:24, so I have limited daylight actually. The sun is like pretty set, so you're probably getting a lot of artificial light. Anyway, this is extraneous and I don't need to talk about it. But, so, let's start with where you are now. I keep pushing the table. So in your first position, you have the King of Cups, which is a super great place to be at any time, right? So you have this energy of being in control of your emotions, like just floating along. You're not ignoring the things that you do have going on internally, but you're respecting them and not letting the more insecure emotions that you might have like dominate what you're feeling. So you're in a really positive place. King's energy is always great, like regardless of the suit. This in particular is obviously the Cups, which is water sign, and so it has a lot more to do with feelings, intuition, emotion, and so you're very like, and I've said this before and I'll say it like a million times, but I feel like the Cups and the Swords are very interlinked in certain ways where emotions and thoughts are so connected that so it's also a mental fortitude that you have at the beginning of July, which is great. Good for you. In the position of your tasks for this month, you have the Three of Pentacles, which is another really positive card in terms of what you need to get done for the month. Pentacles are an earth sign, right? And you've got these 3 people and they're working together. It's really a team player, like team success card where, that expression's like a little corny, but I mean, I also kind of adore it as teamwork makes the dream work, right? So, sorry, I couldn't help myself. But, so your task is to really like be collaborating this month at work and the people that you work with, or outside of work, depending on like what you have going on. If you're doing sort of a side project, now is a great time to collect all of the people who need to be involved in that and make sure that everyone has their assigned role and is doing what they need to do, because it's just like it's the right time. July is the right time for this, to make this happen. For your difficulties, interestingly, you have the Four of Swords. And so the Four of Swords is all about, it looks kind of dire because the man is essentially sleeping in a coffin casket-like situation. There's stained glass, so it seems to like indicate that he's in some kind of a church, but regardless of that, and that's my parrot who refused to co-star in this video with me, so apologies that you don't get like his beauty, but you get all of his noise. It's just the way he is sometimes. But anyway, returning to your reading, as a difficulty, it could be that like this month, sorry, I just knocked the camera, maybe the task at hand of you being super proactive at work, or with whomever it is you're collaborating with, that you're forgetting to take care of yourself a bit. And that's very important. Like, we all need rest, regardless of if we're pursuing something at 1,000%. Like, even just on our day-to-day, we need rest, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in that way. So while it's important to go forward with the goals you have for this month and make sure you're being productive and work toward all of those things, like, you also need to be able to have a moment for yourself, whether that's a weekend, just a day, even just like, if you don't have the luxury of taking that much time off because of whatever your obligations are, even if it's just a few minutes during the day to do like a tiny meditation, right? Like a 10-minute meditation to just focus on your breathing. Like studies have shown, I hate to be like, studies have shown meditation is bad in person, but it's like very true. And I say this as someone who also needs to do that more, so it's not like I'm coming from this place of, complete enlightenment where I have discovered what it is to do all the correct things for yourself. Absolutely not. But as I was saying, like studies have shown that it actually makes a huge difference if you meditate frequently, even if it's just for a short amount of time. Like I said, like 10 minutes. If you don't have 10 minutes, like 3 minutes. Just time to actually stop, to calm. And it's not about not to turn this reading into like an after school special about the benefits of meditation, but it's not even necessarily about like turning off thoughts. It's about just existing in the moment and being present and trying to control your breathing in a certain way, which physiologically just calms your brain down, calms everything down, helps you a lot stress-wise. So if you're able to do that just a few minutes each day this month, like it's going to have a profound positive effect on your health. So don't forget, Four of Swords. Take it easy sometimes. For your Strength card, you have the Four of Pentacles, which like often this card is read as, oh, this person's being greedy, they're holding on to all of their stuff and just like, this is mine, that's it. But, frankly, and I love this about specific spreads having positions assigned to them, because often you're forced to analyze a certain card that's, maybe stereotypically like a negative card in a light of a positive, which all of the cards have that to offer, and which is what makes tarot so diverse and like beautiful in that way. So as a strength, I mean, maybe in the past you've been giving a little bit too much of yourself. Maybe if you're in a career where it's easy for other people to ask favors of you. Maybe you're a designer and people reach out to you and just be like, oh, I have this thing that I need. Could you make that for me real quick? Or, like whatever. I mean, there are a lot of careers like that, and it's not to say that we can't do favors for friends, but there definitely are times, depending, on a lot of factors, like our socioeconomic standing at the time that someone asks for a favor, the other things we have on our plate when someone asks for our favor, our relationship with a person when they ask for a favor, that sometimes it's good to kind of take a stand and actually be like, I'm a professional, like, happy to provide that for you, but like this like sort of like domain is mine, and I will do it, but like I won't do it for free. And it's tricky because there's certainly, it's just incredibly circumstantial, but I think that as people who have friends, and people we care about, and people who aren't even necessarily our friends, but maybe they're professional contacts we had, and maybe we feel a little bit awkward about asking for compensation for something that we should be compensated for, particularly if you're a woman. That's something that's just sort of, I think, can be very like socially embedded, and our brain space of, oh, like I'm just, I just owe that to them, they're my friend, or like there's someone I worked with once, I should just give it to them. And like, no, that's not necessarily the case. Like, we all have skills that we deserve to be compensated for, and it's not to say that you can't ever do someone a favor, like you certainly can, but there are also times when it's perfectly acceptable and in fact more appropriate to be like, yes, happy to do that. This is what my rate is. This is what I would give you. Like, feel free to let me know if that works for you, if you have any questions. So the Four of Pentacles can be really a strength in that way. Sorry, street noise. The window is open, it's hot, it's June. So for your goal, this is another interesting one where you have the Ten of Swords for your goal. And again, this is a card that is not like associated usually with like a ton of joy, right? It's a man lying on the ground with 10 swords sticking out of his back, which I think like everyone can get on the same page of that really sucking and seeming awful. But as a goal, which is the great thing, again, about spreads that have certain positions, because it can get you to start thinking about cards in different ways, is that perhaps what this card is telling you this month is that, not that your goal is to be persecuted as fuck, but that you have an opportunity to not be such a martyr. And I mean, there's so many different forms that martyrdom can take. I am super guilty of them in my own life. Not always when it's helpful to be aware of them, but often after the fact. So maybe like for your goal for this month isn't so much that to not get stabbed in the back a million times or whatever, but like maybe your goal is to recognize when you're being a little bit over the top in the way that you're thinking of your hardships. Because we can all 1000% do that. We can think about, oh, like, woe is me, like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. I get that way. I get that way about family, about relationships, about work. And, like, when you boil it down, things could be so much worse. And I also, like, that can be, I'm sorry, he's so loud. I think it's kind of melodic and beautiful, but not everyone might, so I'm sorry that it's quite loud. But, oh, I lost my train of thought. Relationships. Oh, right, so it's a slippery slope in terms of, because on the one hand, it's like, it's useful to sometimes take a step back and be like, I think, like, so many people have, like, this situation much worse that, like, I don't even need to, like, go there and, like, dwell on that. But at the same time, I also think we need to be cognizant of not diminishing our own experiences, because, like, yes, maybe we're not all, like, in the most destitute of situations possible. The fact that we all have an internet connection right now and are watching this video on YouTube means we're all probably doing fairly okay. Not to overgeneralize. Maybe some of us are not, but like, there are much hard, not that like internet is like, you get what I'm saying, I think, like, hopefully I didn't mean that to be like so diminishing or like so like godlike of internet and YouTube. But anyway, the point is that we need to both recognize perspective in terms of the things that are actually kind of a gift and lucky and like very okay about our lives, while also recognizing that we all have struggles and it's okay. It's okay that you have a struggle that isn't, you know, the worst struggle of humanity. Like, it doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't important. It's not an oppression competition. That being said, it's also good to like have perspective when you are feeling down about your stuff, to kind of like realize that what you're feeling is real, and you should honor that, and you should work through it, and you should talk to people about it. But maybe it's also maybe it's also not the worst thing that ever could be happening to you. And I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself in different ways now, so I'll stop. But that is, in sum, your reading for July 2018, Gemini. Thank you for joining me. I will pause this video in a second so that I can pan down onto the actual cards and you can kind of see the reading cohesively since I've just been lifting them up. If you enjoyed this reading, please give it a thumbs up, a like, and I would love if you enjoyed this reading to subscribe to the channel. And once you subscribe, if you also hit the bell icon next to subscribe, that will ensure that you get notified every time we post a new video, which, you know, we're going to do monthly. And we're going to post them all at the same time for all of the signs. And so you'll get a heads up before the month begins because we'll post before the month, the first of every month. And yeah, that way you can just like stay tuned if you enjoyed it. And I hope that you did. And hope that Perchik didn't... Oh yeah, now he's waddling over here, so maybe you can see him on camera after all of this. You gonna come over? No, he's not gonna come over. God, so hormonal. Hormones are a bitch in many species, just side note. But okay, enough about that. I'm going to pause this, show you the full reading, and then I will talk to you soon. Hey Gemini, here is the full reading. The glare is so unfortunate, but you can see that. Let me see if I can move the table a little bit. So, didn't help a lot. The Ten of Swords in the middle of there is getting the worst of it, but you can kind of get the gist of the picture at large. I hope that you found this helpful and that you'll tune in next month. Bye.